So, Vania, do you want to call the meeting to order?
Yes, so I am calling the meeting to order at 6:13 PM. October 25th. Is that how it works?
Mhm.
Is that all we need for my?
Yeah, and so I think, the only agenda item we had from the last meeting was to spend this meeting and the next meeting going over the investigation procedures. And Olga was going to have a chance to get up to speed on them and hopefully give us some feedback. And who should put them up on the screen? Because I'm thinking we should put it up on the screen as a Google Doc and then make changes as we go along.
Yep. That's a good idea.
So
And then this file, I know that Commissioner Casey said that you shared it with me. Did you share it through my personal email or like the work email?
well, I emailed it to you as a attachment, but it's also in the folder that you created.
On the one that I created. Okay, just to make sure. Thank you.
And so if we can pull it up as the Google Doc from that folder, then we can edit as we go along.
Olga, since you're going to be talking, would you be able to pull it up?
So I already have some notes on my document, so would it be possible that one of you
Okay.
pulls it up, like a clean document?
Okay, I can
Um,
pull it up. Let me see if I can.
That would be great.
Let me see. Hold on a second here.
Because some of the notes are just for me,
That's
so.
okay. So share screen. Is that showing?
Yes.
Okay. And so I'll go to the very top. I was
And
just looking at
It wouldn't hurt to
enlarge it.
enlarge it, yeah, to maybe 125, 150%. I have a copy open also. Mine is annotated as well.
Okay, hold on a second here. I'm trying to find the scroll bar so I don't have to, but I can't find the scroll bar. Just oh, here it is. It's very light.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then we go to let me see, view.
And Commissioner, you said it was in the folder, the Google Drive folder,
Yeah, the Google Drive folder.
the revised one. I don't think I'm seeing it. Maybe I'm in the wrong folder.
Well, it's in the folder you created. It has the minutes from the last meeting. It has the list of operating procedures. It has this document.
Okay. Can you, if anyone gets the chance, could you drop the link to that folder? Maybe I like accidentally created a copy or anything, but we can.
Okay, yeah. Okay, then I'll go ahead and make changes as we go along. Just want to do page by page. Okay. I'd rather not read it, so maybe we can just put it in the screen. People can read it, and then if they have any questions, they can. So here's the.
Okay, there you go.
And so the first one is just a note, so I think we can delete that.
Yes.
Okay, this file needs to be saved as docs can only be saved changes in newer doc. What does that mean? I click on OK and see what it says. Okay, that worked. I'm going to change this revised to draft. And then we put today's date. Today is the
25th.
25th, 2023. Okay. And
Oh, that's right.
and I don't know why he has this sentence underlined. Does anybody else know? Maybe it was because that was one of his revisions. That would be my guess. And so unless anybody has an objection, I'm going to underline it.
So I had some feedback on this initial section of the rules of conduct, generally speaking, on all of the subsections. So I
Okay,
know it's divided then to A, B, C. I don't know if everybody had a chance to read it beforehand. I
I
think
did, but
somebody
it was
wrote something.
a while back, so it's not fresh in my mind, but go ahead.
So this section is kind of general, more aching to me as an attorney, legal opinion, like a guidance for drafting the procedure. And mostly it relates to SDPD. So I think it may be confusing as to why it's even part of the our operating procedure. So frankly, my suggestion would be to remove this entire section except for a few paragraphs. But that's just my thoughts on the operating procedure, the way I envision it in my head.
I actually agree with you, because I remember that was my thought when I was reading it. Well, and the whole document to a certain extent is like Dwayne's legal opinion draft, as opposed to what I'm used to. And we sent him the CLRB procedures. And Olga, you may want to take a look at the CLRB investigation procedures. They actually have, I'm not sure what they call it, but I think it's their overall procedures for CLRB. And then they have a section that is on investigation and investigative hearings. And that's kind of what we had recommended that he uses an outline, and I kind of like their format. It's much more in a policy and procedure document format. So what were you recommending that we take out?
So essentially, I would recommend to take out everything except for the third paragraph from the very beginning.
Okay, there's one. Maybe we should. Does anybody recall how you
The
line
track
out
changes.
how you do track trainings in a Google Doc?
Yeah, I think if you go to format, let me see, edit.
Go to edit.
Under share. So if you go to share and you make it so that people can only comment as opposed to edit. So the blue on the top right, where it says share, all the way to the right,
Oh, I
it
guess
says share. With the
Okay.
little people.
Okay.
Yeah. Click on that. It'll bring
Okay.
up everybody who has access. It should.
Everybody is listed as editor there.
Right.
Okay.
So the only way to actually track changes the way that Microsoft Word does is to change an editor to a commenter. And it doesn't look like you can actually do that.
Also,
may not
I don't
have,
access to this
yeah, you-
document. Just
So
wanted to-
maybe we can do this. We can just write,
Well, I can show you how to
delete
strike out as
or-
well as you want.
oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there,
go
okay,
ahead.
well, there, okay. Well, yeah, but that was my initial question. How do we do a strikeout in
Yeah, so you just highlight the section you want to strike out or the
Uh-huh.
words or whatever it is, and then go to format,
okay.
text, and then you'll see strike through. So that must not have been high. Oh, we may not have that kind of
Well-
editing access to this document then.
Let
I
me
also
see if I can do that.
want to communicate that I don't have access to this document, not with my personal emails at least. Is there any way that I can get access to it?
There you go. Okay.
So do you have access to the city email?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, so this is shared from the city drive, city Google Drive. So I think
But it was, I mean, actually it was on a, it was shared in the file in the folder that Ivania created on her personal computer that she shared with us. It's not on the CPP.
Oh. So you're not working from the document out of the CPP drive. You're working on the document that Yvonne gave us.
Well, no, she sent us a link to a Google folder,
Right.
and she created the folder on her person. She created the folder from her personal Google,
Right.
and that's where I put this document.
I think we're working,
okay.
you're working from the CPP folder because I just did the strikeout in the document in that
right.
folder and I can see it on your screen. So, and that's why Ivania
Yeah.
probably doesn't have access to this document because we're working from the city email.
Okay.
And Doug, are you also working from, oh no, you're working on the same documents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's strange because I pulled it up from that folder, but I pulled it up from my my access was through CPP, and so I was given permission as an editor through CPP. But anyway, why don't we just proceed and hopefully okay, and then this directs the commission to perform.
So I would, I'm happy to, Ivania, speak with you on the side on, and maybe offer you some guidance on how to get the laptop and the city email so that you can be up to speed on the document. But I'm sure we can also share like another document version after the meeting so that everybody could have access to it.
Yeah, we can download it as a as a Word document.
Sounds
Mhm.
good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, and so
So I recommend keeping this third paragraph because it's more or less in line with the ordinance and then delete everything else. I would maybe table the section and must a formal complaint be filed and come back to it because I think it's a relevant section, but just maybe it's not in the right place.
okay, I'm missing, where is that?
So if you go and basically continue striking everything until section C of the first,
Oh, so continue
yeah. Striking everything.
so I can just do a page at a time. So, and I do that by going to was it format or edit?
Correct. Format.
Format, text,
Yeah.
strike through. Okay,
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
Okay. Perfect.
Mhm.
okay,
I don't know
and
why it
then
didn't work the first time.
the following as well.
Yes.
Okay. And next one.
Yes.
Okay. Oof.
This information is still, I say, important. Maybe it doesn't belong in the procedures document, but it's still very important for people to know as they execute and go about carrying out these procedures. Is there any way that we can still save this information, or is there like the source of this information where it can be like referred to for context?
Yeah, I
Some
think
strategy?
I think so. I think it's certainly relevant information, but it's just mostly related to SDPD's investigation, right? So maybe we can keep it as a separate draft that Mr. Bennett drafted for context. That's, I
Okay.
think it's a great point.
So you wanted how far should I keep going?
So I would strike out section B as well.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're working on, this document is supposed to end up being the investigative procedures for the CPP. then.
CPP. Mhm.
Oh, yeah, because all of this looks like this is how the police department does their investigations.
Exactly. And it just may be, while it's important information for context, it will be just confusing why it belongs to the CPP operating procedure.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
And I had the
oh,
very
boy.
same reaction, so I'm maybe good minds think alike. Okay, and then so the rest of C as well.
So C, I think it touches on an important point. So I would suggest we keep it, and come back to it and just probably move it somewhere else, not necessarily in the beginning.
Okay.
I think it's just something that probably should be touched upon on the procedure.
Okay, so please,
Okay.
so I'm going to get rid of,
C.
I'm going to go
Okay.
to format. I'm going to get rid of the
Snooze.
underline. How do I get rid of the underline now? Format, text.
Yeah, strike through again. You-
Okay.
Oh, yeah, because now, oh, that's interesting.
Okay, then maybe if I, we can make add a comment, and our comment will be move, or what should
I
we put?
just made a comment. Do you see it? I wrote keep, discuss and move. How does that sound?
Oh, I don't see your comment.
Oh, you
Yeah,
don't?
I'm afraid your Zoom is just too large.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess you're
in
gonna
the
have to
right
back off
corner.
back to 100%. yeah.
Okay,
I see the beginning of the comment, like, because I
Yeah.
see my initial, yeah, it's just,
Yeah, we're just zoomed in too tightly. Yeah, I mean, you can see it on the original document itself, but not on
Yeah.
the screen.
okay. And so I don't need to make a comment then.
I'm sorry.
So did you highlight, or I see you highlighted the must
Yeah,
complaint
just
be
the
filed.
section. The section.
Okay. And okay, and then complaints by the public.
And if I also may offer some feedback before we proceed to the next section, just generally on the entire document. It is also, I'm also going, but by my experience from New York City. So this document is also different from the way the CCRB New York City does its work. So I understand the purpose of the investigations operating procedure being something larger, kind of guidance for investigations. In New York City, these guidelines were embedded in the city charter, the way the agency was operated. So they didn't exist as a separate operating procedure. And the
Mhm.
agency had an internal investigative manual, which was a living document generated by multiple people for a long time, which had wealth of information on how to actually conduct investigations. So not necessarily guiding principles, but who do you call, how many times you call people, how to go about finding witnesses, how to go about finding evidence, how to summarize evidence, what type of evidence exists there, how to interview civilians, how to interview officers, how to draft a report, template for the closing report, etc. So I was thinking of creating something separate with much more detail and guidance for investigators that probably won't be part of this document. So I just wanted to put it out there for your consideration and your thoughts on this.
Well, I like that idea. And actually some of the stuff that's here in this document kind of struck me the same way, like the checklist that's further down. That's not really a policy or procedure. It's more of a manual.
Mhm.
And we don't need for the city council to approve our manual. We just need for them to approve the procedures. And well, I personally am okay if you want to format or reorganize organize it so that it's more of a procedure document as opposed to a manual document, and then maybe have the items that might be included in a manual, maybe put that into a separate document that we wouldn't necessarily have this committee approve, but we would, keep for future reference. And because that's more, the procedures manual will be something that you actually do. I mean, that's the job of this chief investigator, is to, develop the training tools and so forth. And the purpose of this document is the, procedures that, that spell out what our authority is, how we interact with the city, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't want to, well, I'll let Olga decide what works best for her, if she wants to take a stab at reorganizing this, so we certainly could do that.
And Commissioner Rubio or Commissioner Honoré, just wanted to hear if you have any thoughts on this.
Well, I mean, I'm just setting up a document to kind of take notes of the other things that have been addressed. I missed this last point that y'all were making, but I kind of got lost after we said that we were going to move the last part of that was remaining from everything else that was strike through. That's kind of sort of where I started getting lost. Thank you for checking in with me.
Yeah. Well, what was suggested is that some of the items, like many of the items in this document, are more appropriate for a manual for the investigators to use. You know, kind of as a training manual. This is you know, a checklist. This is formats and so forth. Whereas the investigation procedures are those things that we have to or that are procedural, that we have to get approval for from the you know, from the city council, to spell out, you know, what our procedures are, not necessarily what the best practices or how to implement those procedures, if you will.
So did I understand
Well,
correctly that-
I was asking Olga if she would be interested in perhaps reformatting it to split it into documents that might be more appropriate for a handout, for a, not a handout, for a handbook or a manual, and which ones would be more appropriate for a policy and procedure.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it, but I just wanted to make sure that Commissioner Rubio and Commissioner Honoré understand like the differentiation between the two things that I'm making.
So one is, it would be a handbook for procedural investigations. Once the complaint was filed, like what the investigative team does, and then the other procedures, that's how we run as a commission when we're voting on the cases. Is that correct?
Sort of, yeah, or what the authority of the investigators are, what they are required to do. And
Does
So
this-
if you think of it as a, like, as the, and that's why I think this setup is a little bit confusing, the way it's already being set up. And so the procedure, if you think about the procedure, it's set of kind of guidelines. What kind of cases will the commission investigate? Like when that flows from the ordinance, and some other procedures that we need to establish, like when do we start the investigation, who makes the determination, etc. But there's many other things that need to exist for, like, within the investigations division, quote unquote, or among the investigators, that need to spell out the actual day-to-day procedure, how to investigate a case. So, and that's shouldn't necessarily be part of this document, because it's something that will be created over time, generating kind of wealth of knowledge, and be modified as the agency evolves and grows. But to give you examples of like the things that wouldn't go necessarily in this procedure, but would go in the investigative manual, is what to do when you receive a case, what are the first steps, who to
Right.
contact, how to contact people, how to gather evidence, how to review evidence, how to write reports, etc., which are really, really specific, but they don't necessarily need to be part of this. So I think the proposal that I'm making and the Commissioner Case is also kind of agreeing, I guess, with, is me trying to rework this document and removing the things that don't necessarily need to be part of this, but can go in the manual, and let this be more of a general guidelines for the investigation, with, of course, the feedback and the discussion that we all go through this procedure regardless.
so, is there
I'm
anybody?
gonna-
Go ahead.
Well, I
Thomas.
want to roll back, and first I need to ask the question. Okay, what would you say is a summary of the general purpose of this document we're working on that we're calling Standard Operating Procedures for Investigations. And is that even the right word for it? Title
Yeah,
for it?
it's the operating procedures, and basically it's the legal rules. And so it kind of, as
Okay.
Olga indicated, in New York, it was actually part of the ordinance.
Right.
Here, they asked the commission to write it. And so that's, but it kind of, but it should look like an ordinance, if you know what I mean? Kind of
Right.
organized like an ordinance is. And let me stop sharing for a second. Let me see if I can find what CLRB has, because I think that might be,
Yeah.
if I can find it real quickly. Hold on a minute here.
And while you're doing that, the one of the challenges I'm having at the moment, what is that? Oh, that's what that does. Okay. Anyways, one of the challenges I'm having at the moment is, as understanding, the CRB did not have investigative authority.
Correct.
So we are creating something that did not exist in the previous iteration. The CLRB does have investigating authority. Is that correct?
Yes, they do.
Okay, and so it probably would make sense to try to piggyback on what they've already done. So what Mr. Bennett has done here is kind of walk through all the investigative procedures that the San Diego Police Department goes through when investigating a police incident. And I assume that based on that he's offering that to us as a template to begin to work on putting our own together. Right. So I think, Olga, I think you're correct that we probably need to see, for us, it's great for us to know this is very, as Commissioner Rubio has said, this is very important information for us to have and understand how they do what they're doing. But of course, we're going to do something probably in many respects very similar, but in some respects quite different. And so if that is something that you already have a template for, then I think we should go ahead and do that. And I think very good to look at the CLRB, but I assume CLRB's going to have like pretty big document for that.
Yeah,
So
they are
probably not something we can walk through tonight, or we can maybe get started or look at the outline, but I don't know if we could get through that tonight. Yeah. So I'm just asking and kind of throwing stuff out there, see what spaghetti stays on the wall, kind of like Trump does. And
okay, let me say, go back to here and share. Okay, so I found the document and I gotta find it here. And they have all of their policies and procedures. They call them rules and regulations in one document, which is probably like New York does, but it looks like page 10 is investigation of a complaint, determining when a hearing is necessary, investigative hearings, investigating panels, investigative hearing procedures.
And Olga, have you seen this?
No, I haven't seen this one.
Okay, and so let me just scroll down to how do I get people's faces on the side?
That's a good question, because mine just dropped on the side. I'm trying to figure out how to get them back to the top.
Oh, mine are at the bottom.
If you go to view in the top right corner in Zoom, it should give you options: standard, side by side, or side by side speaker, side by side gallery.
I'm not seeing that.
So in Zoom, under the close button, there is a view button right next to sign in button in the top right corner.
Oh yeah, and you're probably looking at some differences because sharing your screen.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. And so that's probably
Maybe you want to stop sharing the screen maybe for a second.
Oh, I had to exit full screen to get everybody back at the top.
Okay, to stop share, and then now everybody comes in as a
square.
So view where do I want it?
I only see the option of speaker and gallery.
Yeah, well, I
don't see the standard right now, but that's probably because you're not sharing screen.
No, I'm not sharing screen, so I can go back to share the screen and I'll figure it out later. Sorry. Sure. But see, this is kind of how I was thinking, just in terms of written format, uh, you know, this is kind of written like an ordinance, but what did I say, section 10?
I think it was section 9, page 10.
Okay, and so we have investigation of cases. This has like recording of interviews, written statements, investigators report.
I'm going to warn you guys real quick that my computer keeps telling me it's trying to restart. So I might miss that at some point and it will restart on me. It keeps telling it to snooze, but every 5 minutes it comes back up. So if I miss that for some reason and then you see me disappear without any kind of warning, that's because the computer just shut down on me.
And they have a hearing process, which I understand they never use. But
I've never gotten that far, huh?
Well, and see, CLRB doesn't. This has what's in the final report, which is part of what we have. See, but CLRB doesn't actually do reviews. They only do investigations. So they never actually see an internal affairs report, which is interesting. And their jurisdiction is, let's see if it says, I know they do in custody deaths. Looks like page
5. Yeah.
Page 5, 3. What page is this on?
And then
The
once again, these are called
3.
the investigative procedures, or is it just the procedures of the entire CPP?
Yeah, what we're looking at now is the procedures of CLRB to kind of see what
Yes, I'm referring to the document that we were working on, like when we started this meeting, that was.
yeah, it'll
investigative,
be
right?
the operating procedures for investigations
For the CPP.
for the CPP. And so, yeah, well, it looks like they have they can review I guess all these, and so they have more than I thought. So they have a jurisdiction to review all these, but people send complaints to them and they investigate. It's like they're a separate agency.
Yeah, so it's what we've been doing in New York City, similar, but I
Right.
think also I'm struggling with somehow conceptualizing this operating procedure, although, I have a sense probably of what the ordinance wants it to be, because again, in New York City, none of it existed as a separate operating procedure. It was just kind of filled into the city charter, and then the agency had a separate investigative manual, which had all of these things.
So what I'm guessing, I'm going to stop sharing this, is that what was in your charter is probably what we need to develop.
Yes, but it's actually very, very, I'm going to share a screen as well, and you'll see it's very short. It's very to the point. Do you see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, I didn't click share.
Starting. Yes, it says starting.
Okay, so these are kind of the rules also, if you will. So the ordinance, right, written in the city charter. So definitions, jurisdiction, what's also in the ordinance, filing complaints, written complaints, etc.
Oh, good. Would you
Yeah.
mind putting this link in the chat for me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to share the link once I scroll. So obtaining documentary evidence, how to conduct interviews, investigating past professional conduct, disposition of cases, how the board votes, or the equivalent of the commission disposition, what to do with cases without full investigation. Is there a way to reopen case and when?
So now this in New York, were they also receiving information directly from internal affairs? Or were they doing
Yes,
it entirely
it could.
separate?
It could come, so there were separate investigations also, it was a separate investigating entity, but the complaints could come from many ways, including being transferred from internal affairs as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right, so, mediation section, etc. That's it. So that's all that existed. So there was really no separate, operating procedure and investigations. And my understanding here that it has to be created and also has to go through meet and confer, right? So
Mhm.
I think it would be important to keep it very to the point, very general, allowing for room to create internal documents that will be much more detailed, that don't necessarily need to go through the meet and confer. So things, again, I'm thinking would need to be reiteration of jurisdiction, when we can start investigating complaints, what kind of complaints,
Yeah.
who can file complaints, can people, who is a complainant, who is a victim, who can, who gets the disposition of the case, all those things, kind of like very general things.
But I think a couple of things we need to include as well are officer involved shootings, and so things like access to the scene and other things that might be included in that, and how it fits and how the investigation fits into the process with other agencies like the DA's office and so forth. And I think Dwayne, as part of this in the document that he created, but we need to have a procedure for, and I see Clovis's hand up, so I'll call him when I get done speaking. We need to have a procedure for discretionary investigations.
Mhm.
So we have in here those investigations we have the discretion to do, but we need to have a procedure for how we decide when we're going to do it. Is that going to be a vote of the commission, and at what point in the process is that decision made? Then it may be several points in the process where it could be made. Who makes that recommendation? What kind of vote is required? Because we won't be investigating all complaints. We'll be investigating a very small subset of complaints, so we need to have a procedure to decide whether it meets the criteria and whether we want to use our resources to investigate it and so forth. And that definitely needs to be included in this process. And so I'll stop there and let Clovis ask his question or point.
I'm wondering if it would not be too messy based on the conversation we're having now. If I understand correctly, not ad hoc committees, I don't know about ad hoc committees. I know that committees of the commission are not required to exclusively have commission members on them. But even if so, I'm wondering if it would not be too messy to have Mr. Bennett, Andrea St. Julian, and a representative from CLRB, and I would assume that would be the executive director. What's his name?
Paul Parker.
Paul Parker. Would it not be too messy to have the three of them join one of our meetings for informational purposes to help us kind of sort this out? Rather than us trying to figure out the entire CLRB thing, we'll have the CLRB person there. Rather than us trying to understand the ethos of the ordinance that did not include all of this information, but now needs to be constructed, we'll have St. Julian, and of course we'll have our own counsel to guide us more specifically through the concerns we might have. And I think especially Olga, since you've got the information from New York, I think putting all four of those components together might help us better understand what it is we're striving to construct, and maybe give us some guidelines. I think the couple of things that you said about making it very to the point in general, I understand that, kind of like creating you created articles of incorporation for a company, then you do bylaws, but all of that needs to be relatively general so that you have room to maneuver within your own operating procedures, right? So I think we're kind of there, but I think we need more more information from the outside that helps us construct what we're trying to do, from folks who have already done it, or whose idea in mind, already done it in terms of Paul, whose idea in mind as to how it could have been done. And since she didn't put it into the ordinance, and there might be reasons why, we would have St. Julian, and then you would have the information from New York, and then our council to make sure that we're staying on point. Is that asking too much?
I think it's a good idea. What do you think? Ivania has her hand up and Olga has her hand up. So I'll go to Ivania first.
Yeah, thank you very much, Commissioner Honorary, for bringing that up. I think that I would also feel more well equipped having these people who have this prior knowledge come into our meetings. So I definitely like to push for that, to ask who if they're like able to, if it's within our capacity, if it's possible to make that happen. I think that we can make informed decisions and bring something that we're confident about towards the commission if there's folks that are more like familiar with both sides of this process. And Olga, see your hands up too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I spoke with Mr. Bennett, and we went through the entire investigative procedure already. But obviously it makes sense that everybody, all the commissioners, would also want to talk to Mr. Bennett and ask questions about it. He answered all the questions I had about it, but obviously, you may have different questions. In terms of inviting CLRB, I would leave it up to you. I feel like, it would be sufficient if I were to take a stab at drafting this, for me to just reviewing what's out there and trying to combine the things that I know in the document. And then if you were to need additional input from other people, like community members, I would leave it up to you.
I like that. That sounds very good to me. I think that makes it a lot easier too. At least for us.
Yes.
Maybe harder for you. If I may ask, when you had the conversation with Mr. Bennett, did you also walk through with him the information that you are bringing from New York?
Yes, and Mr. Bennett's answer is that we're free to do whatever we want, right? So if we want to cut out things, we're free to cut out things, right? But also his general guideline was also to make sure it's allows us room for operation down the line. So something keeping in mind that it's going to have to go through meet and confer. I think that was his general point about this document.
And I can also send you Olga, if I can find it, before Dwayne was on board, we put together a outline of what the Transition Planning Committee Transition Planning Committee thought should be included in the document. And so I could send that to you as well. Hopefully I can still find that.
Doug, can you share that and the CLRB document with us?
Yes.
The commissioners as well. Thank you.
And that's assuming I can find it, but I think I can.
And what's the name of those documents? I'm just like taking notes.
Oh, the proposed outline for the investigation procedures, and that was developed by the Transition Planning Committee of the interim CPP. And then it's the CLRB rules and regulations. Well, the CLRB's rules and regulations is a document that it covers a lot of things, but there's sections in there that relate specifically to investigations, and so I can share both of those with the committee. And we're approaching 7 o'clock. I was mentioning to Ivania, our next meeting, which is going to be on the 8th, I have a work conflict, but you guys are welcome to meet without me, or we could find another time, whatever the.
I think we should strive for another time.
Okay, let me see what.
And we're missing, how many commissioners are we missing from this meeting?
We're
Just
missing
one?
two.
Two,
We're missing
yeah.
Dwayne and Layla. Let me see if I can find my calendar here.
Wednesday the 8th.
Yeah, Wednesday, the
operating
8th,
procedures,
is when we're scheduled to meet,
Yeah.
but I have, and the following week, I'm gonna be at NACO.
Ah, man, how come I don't get to go?
Because we only have money to send, well, Olga's going and I'm going.
I may
And-
want to buy my own ticket. I'm going to check it out. You know, I keep seeing the emails and I just haven't had time to look at them, but I might want to go too. We'll see.
And but I think we just got a email last week saying that registration is closed, and so I guess
Oh, well,
that's
never mind.
unusual. But it definitely would be worth going to. I paid for my own way 1 year before I was an officer. If we're looking at Wednesdays at, well, it may be too soon for Olga to do this by the 1st, because that would be next week.
Yes, so in terms of when I'll be able to do it, I just wanted to share that I'm working on reviewing the cases that expire, right? And I also will be at NACOL. So
Oh, wow.
yes,
And,
so
And so the
it's
week
not
after,
something that I would be able to do it in 2 or 3 weeks, right? So I just want to be realistic in terms of the time frame.
okay, and then well, maybe we could
I can start doing it, right? And we can keep meeting and having discussions, but it's just not something that I'll be able to completely draft by the next meeting.
well, another option is to keep the meeting on the 8th and schedule something else, and then our next meeting would be on the 22nd, and we could come back to the investigation procedures then. Let me see if I can find our list of
Our plan.
our plan. Let me go back to find my
Yeah.
Google Drive,
Oh, I still got to do that.
shared drives, shared with me. Where did I find that? Oh, I see that maybe that's where I put it. No. No, it
So you
is.
look, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think that now I understand what Olga was saying. I think I put these procedures in the folder that Alina created.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I thought I put it in the folder that
Okay.
Avani created, and that's what created that confusion. But let me go back to
And
You're
I
looking for this-
apologize for the background noise if you hear it.
I don't hear anything. It's all clear.
Okay.
is this
You're,
because you
you're-
have
you're looking for the plan we had for the next 5 meetings, Doug?
yeah,
What
do you
we're
have
gonna
that?
cover? Yeah, that's in the minutes. That's in the minutes. And I see Commissioner Rubio's in there already. It says the first 2 meetings will be dedicated to investigations of operating procedure. The third will be for SDPD administration of discipline process number 1 and process 2. And 4th and 5th meetings will be for case review procedures.
Okay, the case review, I think we should hold off because we're still kind of feeling our way through that.
So it actually be administrative and discipline process would be the next one.
You know, I think if we take, well, actually, Dwayne already drafted that, right?
I
Yes,
know
we
we've got
did.
everything.
Yeah, so wait, so why don't we do this? If
Wait a minute.
people are agreeable, I'm pretty sure he did, because it's called
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
he created a procedure for review of discipline and discipline recommendations, and there's 2 separate functions. One is that we have I have to go back and look, but I think actually, I think both are. I know we have the discretion to give recommendations on discipline for sustained findings. And we have the ability, and it may be a requirement. Do you recall, Olga, what the ordinance says
I think it
Uh,
says in May.
for both? Because we have the ability to make recommendations, but we also have the ability to review after the fact, like the old commission did.
And I think both of them do say may,
Okay. And
as opposed to must.
so here's what I would suggest if people are amenable is that we keep on track and to get done things. Our deadline is we move that up to the next meeting. I can share, I'm not sure whether it's. Yeah, frankly, I think it's okay for a member to share with the rest of the committee as long as nobody else chimes in and responds, because you're sharing information. So I'll have, I can share some thoughts if I have any with the committee, and I'll send it as a blind carbon copy so people won't do reply all, and tell people not, if they have any concerns, to bring them up at the meeting, not to reply by email, so we don't get into an email chain.
What are we referencing at this point? I'm a little
Okay,
confused.
I'm sorry. I was suggesting we do discipline at the next meeting,
Discipline, okay.
and I won't be here, but I can provide my input in advance to the committee if I have any, to what Dwayne drafted.
Okay, so Doug, I see in the folder CPP shared documents, discipline manual, and then there's a bunch of documents in there. Is that the information you're referring to?
And where is that?
So in the manual, it says CPP shared documents in Drive. It says shared with me. No,
Okay, let me
wait a
look
minute.
at the-
My drive, shared drives. I'm sorry, it's in shared drives. And in
Okay.
shared drives, I see CPP shared documents, 20 people.
And go back.
Y'all don't see that?
No, I think the confusion is that there is a separate Google Doc that was created by Vanya where these things are kept, and the separate that exists for the CPP.
Wow.
Okay, and
Well,
are you in a
Ivania or
Vanya?
Alina?
No, Ivania created a separate one for the committee before everybody had access to the
Right.
CPP drive.
Okay, yeah, and I have them both up on my screen. So the one under I don't see the discipline there. Where and then the other one is Operating Procedures Committee, that which is Alina created, but it only has, so I'm trying to find out where that document is that you're referencing.
Let's find the document you're referencing, because I'm not sure which one that one is. Do you have a link to it that you can share, or at least maybe you can share it on the screen and we can see it and figure it out from there?
You know, I did not have a chance to upload. Remember
Okay.
earlier I sent everybody a email that listed with all of the procedures that Dwayne drafted.
Right. Yep. I have
And-
that around here somewhere.
Okay, and it's one of those documents, and
Right. Okay.
I was going to upload them all, but I didn't have a chance to, so I only uploaded the one we were going to be discussing tonight, but I can upload it after the meeting. And so but anyway, my suggestion is that I will upload the discipline draft that Dwayne drafted, and I'll put it in the official CPP folder that Alina created, which I think all commissioners have access to. And at the next meeting, here's what I can do. And I'll put Dwayne's draft in that folder for everybody to look.
It's called draft disciplinary review procedures.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and I'll put that in the folder. And what I can do is I can go through, and if I have it may be perfect. I haven't looked at that in a long time. But if I have any concerns, I'll just create my own document, put Doug's comments or whatever, and I'll put that in the folder as well, and people can look at that at the meeting or before the meeting or whatever.
Sounds like a plan.
And
And
I would probably skip the next meeting so that I could, I'm assuming you won't need any input from me on that operating procedure and the discipline review. So I would prefer to work on the investigations procedure and then meet the next time after that,
Okay.
if that's okay.
I think it'd be good. It probably would be good to invite Dwayne to that meeting, though. In fact, I think it would be really good to have him there.
Now we're still looking at the next date that you will
Yeah,
not
the-
be
yeah,
here,
the-
Doug. Is that what we're planning on?
Yes, we're going to keep the same schedule. So the 8th, I will not be here, but
Okay.
we can see if Dwayne can come, and we'll put the discipline procedures in the folder, and that'll be the discussion item. And if I have any comments, I will create my own
Mhm.
Word document to put in the folder for people to look at as well. And
With- With that said, do we have confirmation from Commissioner Aziz and Commissioner Harvey that they will be present on the 8th?
we
Because without
don't,
them, it would just be two of us.
they don't, but they weren't they both at the last meeting?
They were. No. Layla Aziz was not at the last meeting. Oh, she was not there before I left.
Okay, Dwayne was, and
Dwayne was.
I am happy to check in with them via text if that's going to be helpful.
I think it would be.
Yeah, because you don't want to have a meeting, especially if we're going to invite Dwayne and then not have a quorum.
Yeah,
And
so I can check in with them and then get back to Ivania and let you know whether they're able to meet, and then you can make a decision about whether you want to meet on the 8th
Yeah.
or not.
And you only need one of them there for a quorum, but I know that Layla probably will have some input on the discipline, so she'll probably want to be there. Okay, well, do you mind doing that, Olga, then? If you can check with them?
No, not at all.
Okay, and so do you have everything you need for the minutes, Ivania? Yeah, so the next,
Yes.
on the meeting on the 22nd, we're going to come back to the investigation procedures after Olga has had a chance to reformat it. And at the next meeting, we're going to do the review of discipline and discipline recommendation procedures. I forget exactly what it's called, but it includes both reviewing the department's discipline as well as giving our discipline recommendations. And I will make sure that that document is in the CPPs. Well, it'd be good, Ivania, for you to delete the other folder then, so we don't get confused. And we'll just we'll keep everything in the official CPP one, which Alina created. We only did
Okay.
our own because we didn't have it created yet.
Yeah. So just to confirm, so for the next like 5 meetings or as many as we can. Okay, so for October, sorry, our next meeting is November 8th. Did I
Right.
get that right? Okay,
Mhm.
and then there we're going to not talk about investigative procedures. We were going to talk about discipline, right? The
Right.
discipline procedures. Okay, the ones that Dwayne, Mr. Outside Counsel Dwayne Bennett drafted. And then this folder will be placed in the official CPP folder that was created by Lena, and that's where we will have access to it. And then in that folder with that document will be your suggestions as well, right?
Right.
Okay, awesome. And then so for the following meeting after November 8th, right now we're still we're still going to, for November 22nd, we're still going to go over discipline procedures again.
No,
for
no,
that,
no.
right?
No, we basically are flip-flopping them. So on the 8th, we're going to do discipline, and the 22nd, we're going to come back to investigations.
Okay.
And I will do my best to have a full draft, but if not, then I will certainly have draft of some of the portions.
Probably enough for us to spend an hour. going.
Yes, for sure. Because there will be some things that I won't be able to put. I will just be put up for discussion for you all to decide, but I will just flag the things that would need to be discussed.
And Olga, can you check to see if Dwayne can come to the meeting on the 8th?
Sure, I'll check.
Okay.
Okay.
So anything else that
Awesome. And then the last thing, so we're going to do the case review procedures until December 7th, right? That's
Right.
what's anticipated. Okay.
right? And I'm deliberately putting that last because we're still not sure how we're going to proceed with that yet. We're kind of feeling our way. I have some ideas, but I'm not ready to put them on paper until I get more feedback from people.
But also I feel like our investigative procedure may take some also maybe another meeting after that to go
Right.
through.
I think you may be right, and we may not meet our deadline, but there is no penalty for us if we don't meet the deadline. And maybe just as an aside, I kind of like the procedure that we came upon by accident, if you will. I like the I like the concept of having a professional staff member, not the chief investigator, but an investigator, do a review of the case, write a brief report, and identify issues, and then give commissioners maybe on teams an opportunity to review that and make recommendations to the full commission. That makes it manageable in terms of time for the commissioners, but still has the volunteer aspect to the review and the recommendations. So that's just my initial idea. Other people can say this, they don't like it, but that's my thought. And I don't want to spend time tonight talking about it, but I just wanted to throw that up. But people want to put it in my ear another time, that's fine.
All sounds good to me.
Okay. So
I
are we
have
done?
thoughts on this, but I'll save it for the later
Yeah.
time.
Okay. Well, and maybe Olga and I can have some offline comments as well.
Sure.
And so I may go a totally different direction if she has a better idea or a different approach. So we can talk. We'll have plenty of time at the NACOL together. We can talk about it then.
Oh, yeah.
And so, okay. Are we done? Are we going to adjourn?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, have a good night, everybody.
All right.
Likewise.
Have a good night.
And see you.
Peace.
Bye.